Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Sai. This is Yehud 11. The program is 11 at 11, heard each and every Thursday evening at 11 o'clock, Leil Shishi, on 620 AM radio in New York and parts of New Jersey. You also can see the program on YouTube on the channel 11, Levin, and the number 11. We also have the program on WhatsApp, and we invite each and every one of you to join WhatsApp. We're going to give everybody an assignment. Mila Hashem Elai, those who want to participate fully and become a shutef in the avodas hakodesh that we're doing, and become, as I am, a shluach, a shlucha d'Rabbanan, a shliach of the gedolim of yesteryear. It's very, very simple. Just from now on, take a pen and paper when you listen to this program. Please, I'm asking you to take a pen and paper tonight. We're going to move into the next step of the struggle, which involves a little effort on your part to help be menakeh, to clean up the massive chilul Hashem, to be able to say, Yodeinu lo shofchas hadam, our hands did not spill this blood, so to speak, the terrible tragedies that are happening now in New York City and in New York State. And therefore, by taking a pen and paper, writing down a few numbers, and having you and family members and friends make a few simple 1-minute phone calls. You don't even have to make them during the day. You can make them surreptitiously, secretly at night. Nobody will know unless you have the fortitude and the courage to stand up and to say your name. But we're going to give you a few phone numbers you can call to be mashpia, to influence some of our politicians from and not from, to do the right thing in these coming days. We're already deep into the Nakba, the tragedy that is the current new legislative session in Albany, where for the first time in many years, the Democrats are controlling not only the ultra-liberal, Mr. Uber-liberal, capo di tutto capo, the autocrat dictator, Andrew Cuomo, the long-time assembly having a Democratic majority, but now, unfortunately, the state Senate has gone from Republican to Democrat, deeply Democrat, and therefore, at will, they are passing the most obscene, the most dangerous, the most threatening legislation, not only and certainly to religious Jews, but to any moral people who wish to stay in the state of New York and live and raise a family. It's going to become increasingly difficult and perhaps even impossible. So, Moiv Rabbi Sai, let's rise to the challenge. I ask each and every one of you, I adjure you, I impugn you, I importune you, rather. Please take a pen and a paper so that the next few minutes we give you the phone numbers and you can get to work and do something very, very positive, which will be a schus for you, your family, your children, and grandchildren. The program this week, as I have mentioned for the last few weeks, should be a schus for Refuah Shalema, for Avi Mori Avram ben Chaya Rezel, Imi Morasi Masha Basmatel, I, your humble servant, Yehuda Halevi ben Masha. And I received a communication tonight that there is a young bar mitzvah bacher who's having or had or is having brain surgery. He needs to refuah shleima b'tech shachol Yisrael. Please, this should be a schus for him, and be mispalel, please. That's another reason to take down pen and to have a pen and paper handy. So when we give out a name, you can actually put down the names and be mispalel for these people, which is a tremendous schus for them and for you. Yisrael Meir ben Daphne Bruria. Yisrael Meir ben Dafya Bruria b'tech refuah shalema b'tech shachol Yisrael. Moiv Rabbi Sai, I want to also dedicate the Divrei Torah tonight to a new friend, a tzaddik, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, but who is mamish, not a shluch d'Rabbanan. He was pashat a shliach of the Rebbeinu Shalom to kiss me and to hug me, and I'm eternally grateful to this young man, Yisrael Yehuda ben Etel Bela Taibi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who did some tremendous chesed with me, and therefore he has a schus and a chelik in the Torah and Hashkafa of this evening's program. But Rabbi Sai, I want to get back to the old days where I used to begin my program with Divrei Torah. And because we have literally so little time together each and every week, unless, of course, you join my WhatsApp where you can see and hear the things on a daily basis and get a lot more information. And you do that, again, I'm going to mention in a few moments, I'm going to give you a series of telephone numbers, which will include my WhatsApp number. So, Rabbi, let us begin. Let me shoot over a few rapid Divrei Torah. One of them is, I had a machshava a few weeks ago when there was the parsha that we were reading about, the Korban Pesach, that there's a remarkable, I believe, a similarity between the Korban Pesach and the Akedas Yitzchak. What was the Akedas Yitzchak? Avraham Avinu traveled with his son Yitzchak for 3 days to reach the Akedah. And during that entire 3 days, we read in the Chazal that the Satan was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Avraham Avinu. He was constantly arguing with him intellectually. How could it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to sacrifice his son and there's going to be Chil Hashem? And then he made the river go all the way up to Avraham Avinu's nostrils or something like that. In other words, everything to try to dissuade him and to stop him. And Avraham Avinu went with the same fervor to do the mitzvah. So again, a large part of the struggle of the Akedah it wasn't a 1 minute decision where suddenly you're confronted, live or die, and you make the decision to die al Kiddush Hashem. That in itself is the most elevated of levels. But the Akedah, because it was planned and predestined and it was taking all of these 3 days, each and every step built up and elevated the self-sacrifice and selflessness in the sacrifice of Avram and Yitzchak Avinu once he found out about the Akedah. What Rabbi say? Similarly, the Jewish people were in the 49th degree of impurity. Halalu oiv de avodah zarah, halalu oiv de avodah zarah. Literally, they were holding in the deepest levels of negativity. And yet, mishchu k'chulachem, they schlepped, they dragged the deity of the Egyptians right out there in public in front of the Egyptians. And the Egyptians undoubtedly asked them, what are you doing with our God? And they said, we're going to take your God and we're going to tie it to the bedposts, and we're going to stick our smelly feet in the faces of your God for 3 days. And then afterwards, we're going to take it out. We're going to slit its throat. We're going to put it on a spit and burn it. Do you know what kind of gevura? Do you know what kind of stalwartness? Do you know what kind of self-sacrifice? Do you know what kind of unbelievable courage it took for all the members of Klal Yisrael to say this? And I've said in the past, perhaps I believe that's when the Dibur, that the Chazal say the Dibur was in Golus, in Mitzrayim, Vayoncho, Vayizaku, Vayitzaku. They couldn't vocalize their inner feelings. I believe the Dibur started to go out of Golus when they used their Dibur, Al Pi Kiddush Hashem, Al Kiddush Hashem, to say, to put their hearts in their mouths and to take the chance of their lives and to say this to their Egyptian interlocutors. But not only this, I believe that this was the equivalent of each and every person in Klal Yisrael doing their own personal Akedah. For 3 full days, they were Moishe Nefesh every minute of every hour of every day and every night, not knowing when the Egyptians would decide to revolt, when the Egyptians would decide to take scythes and swords and attack them and make a pogrom, the likes of which had never been experienced before. They were slaves for 210 years. So I believe that there is a moral spiritual equation. As Avraham and Yitzchak did as individual Jewish founding fathers with the Akedah, this was emulated b'rabim in the Korban of the Korban Pesach, the first national Korban. And every Korban is then a facsimile of these Korbanos. It goes back through the vehicle of the first Jewish national korban, the korban Pesach, it further extends back to the individual sacrifice of Avram and Yitzchak, the korban Akedah. And therefore, I believe that we can elasticize the meaning of the pasuk that Avram Avinu saw Ayel Acher B'Svach B'Karnov, another ayel that was caught with its horns in the thicket. So Acher, the Chazal say, because it was Acher, it was another. What do you mean another? Where was the first one? The first one was, so to speak, Yitzchak. Yitzchak was a sacrifice, and the ayel was a sacrifice. And when Avram did the sacrifice of the ayel, he had in mind as if I am flaying the skin of my son, as if I'm burning my son, as if I'm cutting my son, etc. He mamish consecrated that b'machshava the ayel was mamish like his son Yitzchak. So that is the most popular and the most basic explanation of the word acher. But I believe that ayel acher is also an allusion, a hint, that there is going to be karbonos acheros throughout history, starting with the national korban, the korban Pesach, where each person was going to have their own mini or even maxi Akedah that they lived through with the strength of the consecration and dedication of Avram and Yitzchak. I believe this and the sacrifice of Sora Imenu to concretize the Akedah, that there should be a Mesiras Nefesh B'chush. I believe that the founding fathers and the founding mother and wife, what they did in the Akedah made it possible for their children, even on the 49th level of spiritual degradation, impoverishment, that they should be able to make this supreme sacrifice. And in the schus of Dam Pesach and Dam Milah, we got out of Mitzrayim. So now you understand the inner meaning of Dam Pesach. It was not just the moment, the Dam itself of the Pesach. It was everything that led up, that entire 3 days of facing down the Egyptians and those 72 hours of plus of fear, not knowing when their lives might end at any moment, when their interlocutors and their overlords would figure out that they had enough already. So that's Torah number one. Torah number two, very quickly, I was sitting, I'm right now confined to home, and I was sitting and reciting L'chasodi, or chanting L'chadodi, and I thought to myself as follows: Shabbos is Toshev. Shabbos, we return to our essence. Shabbos we're supposed to act as if all of our work of the 6 days of the week is done. It is done. Not we should act as if it is done. We're supposed to totally divorce ourselves from the Sheishes Yimei HaChoil, and we step off into an Olam Haba type situation, Me'ein Olam Haba, into a mano Garden Eden with God Almighty Himself. And we do tshuva, we return. And this first Shabbos was experienced in that kind of a manner by Adam and Chava after the cosmic sin. And yet they left everything behind, and in Dumdume Chama, sun setting, Adam was greeting the Shabbos with Mizmor Shir Liyema Shabbos Tov L'Hodos L'Hashem, Tov L'Hodos, Tov L'Svados, to confess to God, to confess our sins, to do tshuva, to come back to Him, to return to the original state. And therefore, in that time of Shabbos, in that time warp, just like every Shabbos, Chazal tell us, and we say it in davening, that Moshe Rabbeinu brings back the crowns of Nasiv and Nishma that we had when we said Nasiv and Nishma, and then we cast things asunder. So Moshe Rabbeinu brings us back those crowns each and every Shabbos to each and every one of Klal Yisrael. In other words, we step off into a world of Shabbos Toshev. We return to our essence. We return to our roots. And what's going to be after Shabbos? What was before Shabbos? Everything is done. Everything is perfect. We're relating to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're introspective, and we're connecting, and we're mistabik, and we're elevated, etc. And we know that in Rosh Hashanah we read the parsha of Yishmael, Ba'asher Hu Sham, because Yishmael, although he was a brigand, he was going to be a paradigm. He was already an arrowsmith who was shooting arrows at Yitzchak. Nevertheless, at that moment, he was a vulnerable child who was crying out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a vulnerable teenager, or whatever age he was. And therefore, Hashem adjudicated him by Asher Sham, And we say that Yishmael, so to speak, Hashem should listen to us in a similar way. And on the Rosh Hashanah, we divorce ourselves from our past actions. We don't think about anything except that right now, Ba'asher Husham, we want to be close to Hashem, we want to do tshuva. So I believe there's a commonality between this Yishmael situation of the concept of Ba'asher Husham during the week, so to speak, and especially on Rosh Hashanah when we're doing tshuva, and on Shabbos Kodesh, that we consider everything done and we return to the way it was. So I believe that the one who pravas, who conducts himself or herself on Shabbos and tashev, and we divorce ourselves as much as possible from all our mundane acts during the week and all of our trespass and transgressions, and we try to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so we are on Shabbos in the Bechina of Ba'asher Hu Sham. Hashem says, if you do this and honor my Shabbos that way, then I will give you the strength to do a Ba'asher Hu Sham when it comes to Rosh Hashanah and when it comes to during the week and during the Yimei HaChoil. Because remember, the Chazal say that there's a concept of everybody being adjudicated every day. So if that's true, we have to try every day to be a Ba'asher Hu Sham. So the more we're Ba'asher Hu Sham on Shabbos, we consider everything done. I believe perhaps that the more that helps us during our times of judgment to pass muster with flying colors. This is Yehud 11, by side. Take out your pens. First telephone number is the hotline number. The hotline number is where people who do not have the radios, people who do not have the internet, the Krem de la Krem of Klal Yisrael. So these people, how are they going to hear this holy program? What if they're in Eretz Yisrael? What if they're in Lakewood? What if they're in a place where the broadcast doesn't reach? The answer is, please write down the number 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900. But that's not enough, unfortunately, until we get a new hotline number. You still have to type in the following extension. You have to punch in. The extension is 247656. Listen, this is the most valuable and inexpensive present that you can give to anybody, of your friends, of your neighbors, of your children, of your grandchildren in Eretz Yisrael, in Lakewood, B'nai Torah. You tell them, if they want to listen to this hashkafa of the Gedolei Torah, Gedolei Yisrael of yesteryear, then they can tune into this hotline, the 1111 hotline. Again, the number is 641. Please pass it out, 715-3900, extension 247656. The second number is my number that you can reach me and become part of the WhatsApp. We have two WhatsApps. One WhatsApp is where just you see what I posted, and only I or other administrators can post. So it's my news items that I post and my commentary on them. Or you can come to the Rabbi Levin live chat where I post and others post, and there's a lively give and take. So the way you do this is you text me at 718-469-6999. And you can easily become part of the WhatsApp. If you have an Android phone, or if you have a smartphone or an iPhone or whatever it is, I'm not getting into your Torah, but if you have one, Tachlis Geret, believe me, all the leckers and schmeckers and all the schwitzes in Aguda and in OU and in the Moistus, they all have it, believe me. And they're not doing such good things with the phone sometimes, Rabbi. So unfortunately, they're doing the wrong things. They're using the phones to take tweeting pictures with every low-life schmendrick who's passing his voting, all kinds of garbage in Albany, which we'll get to in a minute. So if they're allowed to use your phones for that, and you use the phones for WhatsApp, Zulu, Mazu, Barley, Kim, the antidote, which is to stand up for Kvod Shemayim, so you're doing a good thing. So here's my phone number. And it's very easy to become WhatsApp. You go to the Google Play Stations or whatever it is. There's all kinds of different app programs that in 2 or 3 minutes you press a few buttons and presto chango, you're on the WhatsApp, and then you can communicate with everybody in the wide world who have their WhatsApps. So my number is 718-469-6999. 718-469-6999. Please don't stop writing. Take these other 3 numbers. The number of the newest, this is very important, Rabbi. So you become a shutef. You become a shutef in making a kiddush Hashem. And it can have a profound impact on Klal Yisrael. You take a little maisa, like it says in the Chazal, you open up for me a hole like a pinhead, but it's a through and through hole, and I will open up for you a hole as large as an auditorium. That's what Hashem says in Chazal. First l'chaim, I always make the bracha before I come on the air. The first l'chaim table shalom of the evening. So Rabbi Sai, Simcha Eichenstein's phone number, assemblyman, the newest assemblyman, the Beck wearing assemblyman, who made a nice little Kiddush Hashem, I'm going to tell you, but we got to keep on top of him. His number is 718. Write this down, 853-9616. 853-9616. Then we have the Heilige Simcha Felder, 718-253-2015. Simcha Felder, please write it down. 718. Don't throw away the numbers. You'll need them in the next few weeks. 718-253-2015. 718-253-2015. The third number is the Oisvarf, the reprobate, the Mechalel Shem Shemayim Barabim, the yarmulke wearing Daniel Rosenthal, the young Gach from Queens, from Kew Garden Hills and Flushing, maybe from Hillcrest, who made such a Chilul Hashem, as I'll tell you in a few minutes. He must be called out. You don't have to live in this district, you don't have to tell him your address, but you have to call and complain and warn him for next week, because there are more terrible votes that he could be doing. 718-969-1508. Daniel Rosenthal, the reprobate, the Chilul Hashem, 718-969-1508. 969-1508. And finally, we have another dangerous person who represents a large part of Flatbush, and we have to constantly hold his feet to the fire, or he's liable to do the wrong things. His name is Assemblyman Stephen Simbrowitz. Stephen Simbrowitz's number, please write it down, 718-743-4078. 718-743-4078. You can call these people after hours. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to talk to their secretaries. Don't worry, they're not coming to the phone to speak to you. But this is America, and part of democracy is you call up and you say, I'm deeply disturbed that Rosenthal voted for the two schmutz bills, and I don't want him to vote for these coming abortion and other terrible bills. I don't want him to vote, and therefore I'm calling to say we won't forget. You don't have to say you're yes in this district, you're not in this district. The same thing goes for Simbrowitz. Felder, Baruch Hashem, and Eichenstein voted against the two first schmutz bills, which we're going to discuss. You don't know, and you can't take for granted what they might do, what they might not do on future bills. So they have to be reminded, we're watching you, and we need you now more than ever not to make any slip-ups, not to vote absent. They might take the easy way out and vote absent. I didn't vote for the schmutz, but I'm not going to antagonize anybody in the assembly. I know where my bread is buttered. Geld, chanifa, chanifa, chanifa. And therefore, I'm going to stay absent. When a shliach tzibur, especially one who wears a lange bekesher like Reb Simcha, doesn't vote the right way, it sends a terrible, terrible Chilul Hashem message to all the politicians, to all the politicos, to all the staffers, to all the media. They all know, they all look, they all see, they're all watching Simcha. They're all watching Mr. Reb Felder now. Okay, so let's see where we begin here. Let's see where we begin, Rabbi Sai. Oh, a little musical interlude. By the way, the Yafed bill of Naftali, the Moiser Moster, was reported today that the court threw out his lawsuit against the State Department of Education, Governor Cuomo. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't have the patience to read the 35-page decision, replete with many citations, but I think the gist of it might be partly because they adjudicated, Judge Glazer, that, we have to thank Hashem for this, but I think part of it was because they ruled that Moser and his organization didn't have the correct standing. You have to have standing to sue. You can't just sue. You have to have a reason that entitles you to sue. So I think it was for reasons of standing, and then perhaps it was for certain other technicalities. I'm not sure even though some of the websites reported some of the nice things that they quoted in the decision, but I'm not sure exactly how favorable this was. In other words, did we just get away by the skin of our teeth because of a technicality, or is this a deeply resonating, a resounding success? We'll hear perhaps if the lawyers will tell us the truth and they will analyze it, we'll know in the next days. But we have to understand, as my brain trust told me, whether Mosta and Yaffa ever do another thing, they already opened the can of worms. The genie is out of the bottle. They already accomplished, whether they win in court, chas v'chalil, if they would have won in court, or even not, they've done their damage. So let's understand that. Let's not get carried away. Remember, when Maine defeated, some 10, 12 years ago, whatever, they defeated a referendum on homosexual marriage. And the count was 48-52. So Agudas Yisrael was quick to issue a self-serving press statement. Hooray, hooray, we won. I said, you won? When 48% of the state wants homosexual marriage, and by the skin of your teeth, you manage 52-48, and you are giving congratulatory statements of huzzahs and hurrahs and everything else. Hast du gefallen auf den Kopf? Hast du getrunken zu viel? Was ist mit dir? It didn't make any sense. So similarly, it doesn't make sense to get all excited and happy about this little setback for the Moister and his malcontent organization, his pro-Mishkav Zocha organization, and the damage that they've already done. They continue. Rabbi Sai, please, I'm going to repeat this every week, please become a member of the Malam Al Shinim Club. You shrug up your shoulders in defeat. You say, what can we do with all the garbage that's going on in Albany and the city of New York and the legislation? Can we change? We don't have the power. So you can do nothing. I told you what you can do. Every little bit of Mecha helps. It helps in this world. It helps in the Shemayim. It helps for your children. It helps for your grandchildren. It helps for Klal Yisrael. So you can make phone calls. That's one thing you could do. The second thing you could do is the koyach of Klal Yisrael's b'peh b'tefillah. You can be mechaven. What is V'lam al Shinim for? V'lam al Shinim was only for hundreds of years ago. If Klal Yisrael it's ensconced and enshrined in the Shemona Esrei, the 19th bracha for all times, 6 days a week, 3 times a day, V'lam al Shinim, then Zaydim and Oivim v'shebechol dar v'dar oindim aleinu. Oivim and Zaydim do not mean just the Hitlers. They do not mean the Arafats. The Oivim are Oivim from within. The Zaydim are certainly from within. The Machrivayich meharsayich, the destroyers mimeayich, they emote, they evince, they exit from your essence. They come from amongst Klal Yisrael. That's moister, the moister. Yes, but it's not just that. It's, let me give you the Aseres B'nai Haman, so to speak. Let me give you some of the prime candidates for your V'lam al Shinim prayers. Avi Weiss and the whole staff of the Chovvei Torah that turned Torah on its head. Okay. Right there. The Flatbush Mama. Leah, she's no lady. The married lesbian who's making inroads. The homosexual activists who are pushing the Mishkav Zocher on our community and all of their organizations. Keshet, this and that. These are people who are Oivim and Zaydim. Okay? They are standing Torah on its head. Now, I cannot take the responsibility to say in definitive terms they are. But the chances are, based on what I read to you from Rav Avigdor Miller, from the Torah that's given out in English each and every week, Torah's Avigdor, and what he said in Parshas, was it Miketz or Parshas Vayechi, where he spoke about Rishayim and he spoke about V'lam al Shinim. So it's a very appropriate, and the way I do this is I make a Tanai. I say, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is of the opinion that the following people qualify as Oivim and Zaydim, then that let my prayer heartfelt apply to these Oivim and Zaydim, the ones I mentioned and the ones I don't know that I have in mind for all those miscreants and malcontents who are mamish, literally destroying society as a whole and Klal Yisrael as in particular. that let the bracha of Lamalshinim apply to them fully. However, at the same time, you can daven in Shema Kolenu and you can daven in Hashivenu Avinu, that these same people should be zoicha, they should merit somehow to do tshuva. And I mentioned in the past, and I'll mention again that Rav Arla, the famous Rav Arla, the founder of the Rav Arla Hasidim in Shomri Emunim, he discusses the kavanas you should have by Omen Yesh Mei Rabbah, and one of them is that the Rishayim should come out of Gehenna, and that they should do tshuva, or they should be elevated, they should be forgiven, or whatever it is, similar things. So there's nothing wrong with praying, but to do it one-sided, just to pray, for the one side that they should do tshuva. Meanwhile, who is v'chol oivim v'chol oivim is Zaydim applied to? It applies to them, and therefore you should have them in mind. It applies to the Mark Angels. It applies to the Nathan Lopez Cardozo, or Cardozo Lopez, or Lopez Cardozo, that these people say at least 15-20% of the stuff they say is kfira, and it's very detrimental, and it's doing us grave damage, and they go beyond the Torah community. They preach their garbage, berabim, and that's it. Fagel Moskowitz, who I gave him a Kriya Shem, the one who supports the fact that he has it's a mom's child abuse. When his daughter or something like that was 6 years old, she's transgendering or something like that, and he's the Poisek, and he speaks Kfira Gemura on the video constantly, in the Beit Simchat Torah, the homosexual synagogue there in Greenwich Village. He's zicher somebody that's a suffix if he's from B'lam Shinim. And that's what you have to do, Rabbi Sai. And you have to think about all of those people in Albany and in the city government and everything else who are hurting us and harming us. Rabbi Sai, if it continues like this, I'm telling you, these two laws, you know what laws they passed this week? They passed a law called Gender Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And what that does is that elevates any transsexual, transgender, transvestite, a man who says he's a woman who says he's a man, whatever it is, that they have equal protection under the law in all kinds of public accommodations and in all kinds of matzavim. You can't discriminate. That means if you have a restaurant in Borough Park and a man comes in wearing a lady's dress and says, I am so-and-so, and he sees a man, and he's dressed like a lady, he says, I identify as a lady, and you don't hire him? Ho, 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 ho. That's gender. What else does it say? That with bathrooms, public accommodation bathrooms, the guy says, I feel I'm a lady. He can walk into the ladies' bathroom, he can walk into the ladies' locker, and walk into the ladies' shower, and if you try to stop him. This nightmare is now the law in New York, brought to you by all the many people that Aguda was and probably still is kissing up to. I'll give you an example. My good friend Yerucham Silver was up there this week, right, when these laws were being passed. And I'm sure he spent some time eating those kosher cookies at one of the receptions with his good friend Helene Weinstein, who Aguda supported when there was a former guy running against her who could have beaten her in the primary at the time, perhaps. But they supported her. Why? Because Helene Weinstein does something for yeshivas and guilt. Yeah. Helene Weinstein votes for every lesbian, mishkav zocha, pro-abortion, piece of schmutz and immorality. She voted for this. Did Yerucham smile at her any less this week? Did he say to Helene, please don't do this for us? You're killing us? Was this brought up? Yerucham, please come onto my program and explain to people what you've done. Yerucham Silver was approached by an associate of mine this week, and he made every effort to make short shrift. He, who's one of the main lobbyists for Aguda to fight on what's going on in yeshivas, Rabbi Sai, every one of you know that for a month now I've been speaking about 801A. Yerucham Silva, it seems, had no idea what 801A is. I'm planning on calling him. I'm planning on discussing with him. And when this Erlich Yid, who came with Mesiras Nefesh, not like Yerucham and the other Schwitzers who are getting paid nicely to lobby in Albany, he came on his own, L'Shem Shamayim, etc. So when some Chaleria lowlife came over and said, what are you doing here? Because it was in a place where you have to be invited. You You have to be invited in by the legislator or something. So Yerucham makes sure to say very quickly, I didn't invite him. And good old Simcha Eichenstein says, I didn't invite him. In other words, that kaltkeit towards a fellow Yid who's coming, where's you can feel shame on you for doing that. Shame, shame, shame on both of you for doing that. But anyhow, we'll be speaking to Rabbi Yerucham. I would like to be able to report to you next week. I'll try to speak to him this week to see. And you know what he said to this guy when this guy tells him about 801A? He says, what are you speaking to me? I'm not a legislator. This is what he says. What are you speaking to me? I'm not a legislator. Really? And you're the one who's appointment for our good on this stuff and you don't know? Instead of saying, thank you very much, you are such a klutz kasha. What are you telling me? I'm not a legislator? What are you there? Aren't you the Aguda lobbyist? Don't you speak to legislators? How crazy has it gotten? Yerucham, please. Please, Yerucham, I beg you. A little decency, a little kvayt shemayim, a little v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha, a little of being, if you don't share our tsar and our concern about all this chazarai, and you're busy having a good time making important conversations with all these knackers who are going in and voting on all this schmutz against us, then at least when you see Erlich Yid is doing something, have a little derech eretz. You and Reb Simcha. I'm pleased to report the second bill. So that was one bill, gender. The second bill is Rabbi Sai. The second bill is therapy. That if a person has a child who is showing signs of a same gender attraction, and the parents want to help him, they want to take him to a doctor, a psychologist, a social worker, or somebody else, and they do it when he's below 18, the parents can be found guilty. It's prohibited, and the doctors can't provide services or they could lose their license. In other words, we want to affirm that even though sexual inclinations and desires kiyadua are in a state of fluidity and flux, but these rishoyim, arurim, mamzerim, asidim litnis adin, I call on them all the curses that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will allow me to say on each and every one of these rishoyim who is preventing us from being parents, preventing us from exercising our parental authority and our religious obligations to try to help our children. Now, does that mean I endorse every therapy? Does that mean that Chaim Levin, who took Jonah to court, might not have legitimate arguments that some of the things of the therapies that they do is crackpot or wacky, it doesn't make any sense, etc., etc.? That's quite possible. But we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't tell me I can't take my kid to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, I'm not sure if you can take a kid even to a religious person. I'm not sure if there's an exemption for religious leaders to take them to a rabbi either. Whatever it is, they are circumscribing, they're severely limiting what the parents can do. So these were the two pieces of garbage that Rosenthal, asid litain as hadin, not because I said so, because if you tip over a cup of water, then the water's going to spill. And if Rosenthal does these things, this 20-something idiot, this behemoth, this Russia, wake up, queens. This is the maneuver that you have. And next week, there's going to be a series of bills that are going to come up. One bill is the horrific abortion bill, the abortion bill that decriminalizes abortion. Until now, abortion is listed under the penal code. Penal code means when you do a crime. That means if a man takes a gun and he shoots a lady and at the same time he shoots the fetus, until now he was chayev for doing a crime against the woman and for a crime against the child. But now if he causes the child to be a spontaneous abortion or whatever it is, then that abortion is not a criminal act. It might still be an assault or this and that. Now, what happens if there's a husband and a wife? And the wife gets pregnant, and the husband says, I don't want you to carry the baby to term. So what happened to the big svara? It's a woman's choice. It's her body. The husband, nobody can say what to do. It's a woman's choice. And the woman says, I want to have the baby. Having my baby, what a wonderful way to say how much I love you. You could have thrown it from your lap, but you didn't do it. Excuse me for doing this. This was a Gentile song that was very popular in the 1970s. Mitzvah Lepartzen. It was a pro-life song that Paul Anka made. Having my baby. It was at the time that they were legalizing abortion, and he was singing a song that became very popular with the young people in America. It's Gewaldig. It's probably a mitzvah to sing it, especially in light of what's going to happen next week. Having my baby, what a wonderful way to say how much I love you. You could have swept it from your life, but you didn't do it. I'm a woman in love, and I love what's going through me. I feel it growing. I'm so happy knowing that I'm having a baby. Yep, that's it, Rabbi say. That's it. Call me names. Now, Chochma Begun Timon. Rabbi say, this bill, if the wife says, I want to keep the baby, the husband says, oh, no, I don't want you to keep the baby. What happened to these phony liberals? It's a woman's choice with her body. Now, all of a sudden, it really isn't a woman's choice anyway. You know why? Because if the husband came and he slipped something into the coffee called an abortifacient, a pill that's going to cause a spontaneous abortion. So why shouldn't the husband or the father or the brother or whoever it is, why shouldn't he be penalized because he caused a spontaneous abortion? Until now, it was in the penal code. If you did something to cause an abortion, there could be a criminal penalty. But now there's no more criminal penalty, which gives a lie to the whole thing that it's a woman's choice. It's not a woman's choice, it's the liberal choice. And the liberal choice is kill the baby, but it's not considered killing anymore because the baby is dehumanized and they're changing all the lashonos. You understand? Now, not only that, but part of this bill is that let's say the baby survives a botched abortion. So they do it very clever. They don't write the bill in a proactive way. A baby who survives a botched abortion, you're mechuyev to give medical support, or you're no longer mechuyev to give medical support. No, they don't say anything so grub. They're too sophisticated. They might be so sophisticated that I don't know if Simcha Felder and Eichenstein and whoever else, I don't even know if part of them are going to chop what's going on. But if they don't chop, they don't belong being our legislators. But let me tell you, they write Michlal Lava Shetishmeya Hain. What they do is, we are repealing such and such a thing. That means for 30, 50, 60 years, whatever it is, in the nusach, in the jargon, in the text of the codes, it said, in the health codes, it said, kach v'kach v'kach. Like it said, if a baby survives an abortion, you're obligated to give it medical treatment to try to save its life, to sustain its life. And there are numerous children and adults are alive today, not millions, but tens, maybe even hundreds worldwide, who've survived botched abortions. And they were given medical treatment and they became members of society. So I've seen some of them. I've seen them on clips and stuff. They testify. Whether it was a concert pianist or a violinist or something. Anyhow, but now what they do is they say, very neutral, you understand, very cold, we are now repealing Section A, subsection B, 46, etc., etc. So it never says anything about killing babies. But the upshot of that repeal is that there is now no protection for a baby that was born, okay? So it used to be, they used to say a woman has a choice. That's no longer true. And they used to say a baby is the baby until the moment it is born, then it becomes a baby. But now they're dehumanizing the born baby, because if the baby survived the botched abortion, it's not considered a baby, because a baby you're not allowed to kill. You're not allowed to withhold medical stuff. You have to make all the efforts to save its life. You understand? So that's one vote. They're dafka doing it on Tuesday, January 22nd, because January 22nd is the day of Roe versus Wade that celebrates when the Supreme Court ruled that a woman has a constitutional right in certain circumstances to kill the fruit of her womb. And the March for Life and Gentiles around the country make protests against Roe versus Wade. And Ben Shapiro the modern Orthodox Baal Tshuva, brilliant, Eloi, Kiddush Hashem, 98% or maybe 110% of the time is going to be speaking at the March for Life. I'm Moedik Kiddush Hashem, and he's going to be doing a broadcast from there, etc., etc. And the Vice President of the United States is coming to speak at the Rose Dinner that night, okay, of the pro-lifers. So in New York State, they're busy heightening the Ritzicha. So that's one bill. That's the barbarian Ritzicha bill. Then there's another bill that's called health proxy, that you have to notify. The health proxy bill is you have to notify people that we don't do kach v'kach. And that's also a very bad bill. Take it from me. There could be situations where that could turn out to be bad as well. And even if you're a Suffolk, in today's climate, when you see Rishayim pushing a series of bills, Lashon Hara Torah the Chofetz Chaim says, you have to understand it's bad news. And the chazaka today in the legislature in New York and in most of the country has to be, you vote no. You vote for the status quo unless you know 100% there's no way that there's not a surreptitious, sub rosa, secret cheshbon with this legislation that might appear innocuous because of the Orwellian names they give it. You understand? But really, it's very negative. So believe me, there's a good chance that we can come up and show you how the health proxy is negative, and therefore people should vote against it. And the third bill is called the Reproductive Non-Discrimination Act. You know what that means? Sounds very good, reproductive non-discrimination. If a person, the face, has an abortion, so you shouldn't be discriminate against them. So Chas v'Shalom, maybe Eichelstein or Felder, or that Oisvar for sure, Rosenthal, or Simrowitz, the Russia, whatever you can get away with, he'll get away with. They'll say, listen, we might be pro-abortion, but we don't want a person who, a non-Jew doesn't know when they committed abortions. You want to discriminate against, you want to this. So let me tell you what this bill does. Let me give you one example. What this does is follows. A lady is teaching English in a Beis Yaakov, let's say, okay? And one day she comes in, she has a grosser stomach because she's expecting. And all the little girls in the 7th, 8th grade, when you're expecting this and that. And then one day she's absent for a week and she comes back and her stomach is shrunk. So they say to her, Mrs. Katz, what happened? You had your baby? Mazel tov. She says, no, I didn't have my baby. I had an abortion. What's an abortion? Well, if you don't want your baby, you cut it out, etc., etc. The principal calls her in and she says, I'm sorry, you can't speak like that to our children. You can't speak. We don't want. Abortion by us is carved to Ritzicha. It's carved to murder. And we're sorry, we can't have you. Oh, you're discriminating. You're against the law because there's a Reproductive Non-Discrimination Act. So are we going to have our Haimis and our representatives, religious or irreligious, voting for this? The answer is no. So the reason I gave you the telephone numbers before is to call up Simcha Eichasi and say, thank you for the first 2 votes, but we're always looking at you. Make sure on the next few abortion votes, on all of them, the health proxy, the abortion, the reproductive rights, right to non-discrimination, please vote no. Don't vote absent, Simcha. Don't be politically correct, like Dov Heiken used to do sometimes. He was absent. Yeah, it's a heta. When I got the letter from Moshe Feinstein that we calling on all of the city council people the year that the gay rights legislation in New York City passed, he wrote, because we helped write the letter, and Moshe wrote, it's not enough. You have to vote against it and do not vote present or absent or not vote. That's not acceptable. Kal b'choyim, it's not acceptable now when it's so much worse in the serious businesses. Rabbi said we have no idea what Wednesday. That's Tuesday we're going to vote. Wednesday, who knows what horrific things. So it's important for Felder and Eichenstein to get phone calls saying Yasher Koyach, but keep it up. Vote against all the schmutz bills that are coming up in the next few weeks. We're going to be watching you, and we demand that you make a Kiddush Hashem, don't vote absent, and vote against these bills, and speak up. And the other thing is, 801A, Rabbi Say, we got to speak up against 801A. Yerucham Silber didn't even seem to know what it was. And Simcha Eichenstein, I'm sorry, but he claims he did know about it, but I don't know if he's going to make an issue about it. So the question is, who is giving the Das Torah to Simcha Eichenstein? I want to tell you today, Rabbi Sai, all these people, Chaim Deutsch, I'm sure Simcha Eichenstein and Yeager, they all have the Gadol in the back room, their posek. And we never had to know who it is, because if we know who it is, they're going to be bothered. But they are the ones who present the bill to the posek. The posek tells them what happens if one of these bills, like the Reproduction Non-Discrimination Act, the Simcha Eichenstein will go over to his rabbi, and the rabbi will say, and he'll tell him, listen, I'm going to antagonize a lot of people. It's not enough I voted against the abortion Ritzicha bill. I have to go and I have to antagonize people, and then I'm not going to be able to bring home the bacon, the kosher bacon, the gelt, the this and that. By the way, somebody said to me tonight, a fairly bright gentleman, he said to me, I don't understand. We read Shar B'tochen, we know about Ishtadlis, we know when it comes from Hashem. So how come we have to have all the knackers and schwitzes and all the moisters are always very wealthy people? And how come they're always going and they're sacrificing on Klal Yisrael's ideology in order to get these monies? Don't we have B'tochen? Don't we have Amunah? It's a very good question. Especially this week, we read about the Parshas Haman. Kachts and Senes Mon. Why do we have Mon? To show that every day the Parnasa comes from Hashem on a daily basis. And somebody who has Parnasa for the day, so to speak. And he says, what are we going to do? L'mochar? Harezem Ektani Amunah, I think Chazal says, or something similar to that. No. In other words, really, we're supposed to be much more Samech on Hashem. The time everybody knows the Segula from Tuesday, the Parshas Haman. And we all say it and we all hope. But how much of us internalize what the meaning is? Does Aguda and OU and Satmar and Lubavitch and all the rest of them, do they internalize that the Mon comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Okay? And I want to thank again Yisrael Yehuda Teibi. I want to thank him again for being there for us in Parshas Haman. We profoundly appreciate it. It's chelich l'raischa. You should always be able to be a giver, never have to be a taker. Yitz Hashem. Where Rabbi Say, the Olam still has an opportunity. We mentioned this. You have my contact information, rabbi11@gmail.com. You also have my phone number, 718-469-6999. If you wanted to divrei Torah, the divrei hashkafa should be a schus for you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, that they shouldn't go to Tarbis Raw. I can't think of a better way than Mida Keneged Mida than join us in the fight. Sponsor a radio program. Give us a nice donation so we should be able to continue to speak out. Nobody else is doing what we're doing. Rabbi said when nobody else does it, the Torah, the Chazal tell us, Noitel schar keneged kulam. This is arbitrage. You know what arbitrage is? You buy low and you sell high. This is gewaldige arbitrage. For pennies, you could help sponsor our radio program, which is a great difficulty for me. It's domim, and Aramaic is money, and domim is blood. By me paying for this myself is blood, mamish. I can't afford. I'm not stopping, but I can't afford to. I have thousands of dollars on credit cards. Rabbi Say, if you want to join in and sponsor a program or give a nice nesina, we can mention your name, we can mention your Hebrew name, your mother's name, we can learn Torah and Hashkaf and the schus of whoever you want. Rabbi Say, become a shutef, 718-469-6999, and become a member of our WhatsApp. Let's see what else we have. Okay. By the way, if you want to riot that the health proxy bill is bad, the same one who sponsors assisted suicide is sponsoring this health proxy bill. Kennst du schon vorstellen und verstehen? Rabbi Say, all this with sicha that they're doing on postborn babies, that from a botched abortion you could withhold medical treatment. You don't think that this is leading to this furthering strengthening of the euthanasia movement. You don't think that there's a significant chance that they're going to pass an assisted suicide bill here in the next few weeks or months, Rabbi Say? Wake up. What does it do? We don't abort in the Jewish community. You know, idiots, what that sounds like when you say this stupidity, that there are no abortions in the Orthodox community. It's like in Iran when they said we don't have any homosexuals. Come on, grow up. Remember when that idiot Ahmadinejad came to Columbia University and he said we don't have any homosexuals, and everybody laughed at him. We don't have abortions. No, they were not stories of all kinds of women with mysis and everything else, with Meidlach and women and everything else. Please, grow up. Moving right ahead. By the way, Abby Fultischarna Stein, the Oisra first Hasidic transsexual, is making a fortune running around the country and getting paid to speak and everything else. Everybody loves it. The malls come to the light. The Tzad Tumah loves nothing better. The Klippa, that we can hop onto a Nitzitz HaKodesh. They could say, look, Abby Stein has come to the side of the Klippa. So there's this very controversial women's march that's taking place. And even liberal Democrats from the Democratic Party in the last few days disassociated themselves from the march because of the history of various leaders being anti-Semitic. So they get a few Jewish names there, like the first Jewish woman of color, and you understand where they all come from. All the schmutz they stand for. Savada, they put Abby Stein, and this idiot became, it was Oilu Ligdula, where even the liberal Gentile Democrats are running away from this women's march. This Abby Stein is running towards it. Okay? Okay, let's see what else we have, Rabbi Sai. By the way, if Yerucham Silber didn't know about 801A, so you think Aguda knows about it? You think Rabbi David Zweibel knows about it in depth? You think Simcha Felder, they were trying to notify him about it. I hope by now he does know about it. He does know about it. The question is, are they going to speak up against it? Eichenstein already said probably he's not going to do it. He has ganz cheshbainis, because Eichenstein is anybody on top of Eichenstein who has more experience, who's telling him what to do. Simcha, you're a nice guy and everything else. You have your job. I have my job. My job is to keep you honest to morality, not to win your popularity, not to upset you, not to be mavayish you. But I made a promise, and I told you that night when we spoke on the phone, I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to put a magnifying glass. You are the newest young kid on the block and the first one to wear Bekesh and Payas. You're a charismatic, fine, sweet fellow. But if you're going to disappoint us in morality, every single person, as long as Hashem gets me, is going to know about it. And hopefully you're going to continue to do the right thing, to vote against the shmutz like you did. The next thing is coming up this week, and we will report in depth on what you're doing, and Simcha Felder, and Simrowitz, and Rosenthal. Understand? I'm telling you, Rabbi Isai, today, let's say he has some Hasidic Rav. Let's say he has a Kvesos. Let's say you even have Rev David Cohen or Rev David Feinstein. Do you think that when some legislator today comes over and who himself doesn't understand the poison pills and the intricacies of the way they do these bills, you think that it means something? When they asked Rev Avigdor Miller, how could it be if Das Torah and they ask a Rav and then they ask a God? Like he said, it depends how the question is asked. The Das Torah is only complete the question is asked. We're not talking here about Ruach HaKodesh. We're talking about Das Torah. Now, you know, today you need a person like Rabbi J. David Bleich, somebody who mamish knows ethics, and he's a lawyer, and he knows legislation, and he's familiar with the methodologies and the way they, maybe a person like Rabbi Bleich, J. David Bleich, can do. But it's time to ask a Rav, I got to add the Chaim Deutsch as a Rav, someone who told him. No, it doesn't work. And I'm sorry to say, literally, there's going to be hell to pay. Understand? And it ain't going to work in the Olam HaEmes, where everything is Emes. The Rav is going to be asked. The Rav is going to be asked, really? You did research? Oh, the guy told you, so you let him as a Shliach Tzibur represent all of Orthodoxy and not vote for it or vote against it or vote for it? You allowed? Yeah. I wouldn't want to be on that hot seat. I would say, no, thank you. The same way I wouldn't want to have to give a hechsher today. Who wants to have to be a Rav HaMarsha today? Who needs it? To have to kiss up to the lesbians? Really? Okay. Now, Rabbi Isai, we now have 58 minutes, so let me take the time to give the telephone numbers again. First of all, again, a Gevaldig Yashikach Yisrael Meir ben Daphne Bruria. I'm sorry, Yisrael Meir ben Daphne Bruria should have a Fushalema B'Tech Shachel Yisrael. And a tremendous Yashikoich to Yisrael Yehuda ben Etel Bela Ta'ibi for helping us out so much. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless him with all Mili Demetov. Furthermore, I'd like to say that you can get onto our WhatsApp at 718-469-6999. Text me. It'll get onto the WhatsApp. And spread the word. Become a partner. Take the stuff that we post on the WhatsApps and post it to your friends. Give out the hotline number to some people who don't have radios. 641-715-3900. Please, 641-715-3900. Extension 247656. Extension 247656. Rabbi Sai, call up Simcha Eichenstein. He's just starting out. Help him keep on the right path and to do the right thing. 718-853-9616. 718-853-9616. Call up Simbrowitz and tell him he better vote the right way on all those Ritzicha bills, those abortion bills, and the reproductive rights bills, and the health proxy bill, all to vote no. And tell him we're going to be watching on morality. 718-743-4078. I have to be reminded next week to speak to you about the terrible voting bills that Simcha Felder and Eichenstein sponsored that are bad, but they don't even have the seichel to know how bad it is. And I hope next week I'll remember, or somebody will remind me to speak about it. Until next week, Rabbi, this is Yehuda Levin, wishing each and every one of you a guten tamid. Stand up, Rabbi, stand up for Kvod Shemayim. Never was the door so low. Never was it so easy for us to make a Kiddush Hashem because of the magnitude of all the Chilul Hashem. With your help, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, Natzliach. A gute Woche, a gute Tamid.